In today's video, we will be painting this sunlit forest together. We are mainly using a big round brush, a smaller round brush, and a rigger brush in today's painting. The colors we are using are Mayan yellow, burnt umber, permanent red, sap green, blue apatite genuine, and Paynes gray, all from Daniel Smith. I'm starting by wetting the paper, starting by preparing some yellow. Adding the yellow in a circular motion, leaving some white paper for the sun. And mixing in some of the red with the yellow and keeping the circular motion going. Making it a bit darker with more red and less yellow. Taking my brush that it's clean and almost dry and doing some sunbeams. And I wish I had some paper. I'm taking off the paint with my fingers, so you can use a towel or something instead. Here I'm mixing some of the blue and burnt umber and red to get a grayish color for the sky. And I'm adding more water to the mix also. And just doing a simple sky. I missed filming the first trees, but here I'm painting with a soft blue-green color the first branches. And I'm using my big mop brush for this. It can hold a lot of paint. Here I'm going in with some darker of the green. It's always gonna be the sap green and the blue I'm mixing together. But for the background trees, keep it quite soft. When I'm painting, I'm flicking a bit upwards, dabbing and flicking upwards in the direction of the branches. Here I'm starting the background with some sap green, doing a upwards motion and a sideways motion where the little road is going to be, and adding darker color for the background and doing some more trees. And on the background trees I'm using more of the blue than the sap green to get them to feel more distant. And I'm still using my big mop brush, but if you feel that it's too big for you using this kind of brush, use the smaller brush. But I recommend that you use as big a brush as possible to not get too detailed with these background trees. Here I'm adding some darker in the trees and even on those trees a little bit to get some variety in how light or dark it is. It's good to have light parts, mid-tones and darks. Here I re-wet the paper a little bit and going in with some sap green, some blue green, and letting it spread. And keep in mind to save some of the lighter parts also, not to make it too dark straight away. And adding green up until the point where it meets the trees in the background. Please subscribe if you like my content and want to see more. It helps my channel a lot. And if you would let me know where you come from, I would like that to see where everyone lives. I'm in Sweden. Here I'm adding a darker, nearer to the viewer. And I wanted to paint a summer scene because here it's winter and snowing and cold and I miss summer. I'm taking away some of the green that went into the little road just with a clean brush. And adding some of the burnt umber and a little bit of the red mixed together for the little gravel road. And I'm also adding a little bit of the yellow into the road and also up in the forest part to get some light spots. Where maybe the sun is hitting it, and adding some darker green at the front and some sap green, and doing some upward motion to describe some bushes or something in the background. I'm going to go in with some darker color now, dropping it in and changing the direction of my brush and just dropping in some colors. It's not to be anything specific, just making sure there's variety in the motion and the color. And I'm gonna start doing some trees in the background there. Just making flicking motions with my mop brush. And this brush comes to a fine point, so I can use it for smaller things too. And the color I'm starting with is mostly the sap green and then going in with darker color above that. So I mix the sap green with the blue. And here I'm going in with a darker color again. And I do that often. I start light, and when it's still damp, I go in with darker color if I see that I need them. And the darker color is just less water and more paint. Here I'm painting the tree where my paper is ending, so you hardly can see the brush. And you add as much trees or as few as you want to. Here I'm doing a little bit of a grassy motion, adding some texture. And as you can see, some of the parts is a bit sped up, so this video won't be an hour long. I hope that's okay, but please let me know if you want me to do just real-time videos. Here I'm going in with some yellow and a little bit of the red color, but nearer the sun, the more yellow and less red I'm having on my brush. And to start with, a really light wash and adding more as I go along. And the further away from the sun, the darker the color and the more green it's gonna become. And this part is in real time, not a sped up part. And if you have any questions about something that I'm doing, please feel free to ask, so I can explain when you maybe don't know what I'm doing or you want to know something more. And the colors I'm using is just a mix of the red and the yellow at this point. Here I've mixed in some of the burnt umber in the color also. And as you can see here, I'm going in with a green to do some of the more shaded trees. And I keep adding trees until I'm satisfied and adding the dark color to get more variety in how light and dark it is. And here I'm adding some more in the sun part. And I've added a little bit of a stronger color also to the branches in the back side from the sun, so to speak. And I keep adding details or trees. And here I'm adding a little bit of that color to the background, some soft bushy texture. And now I'm using my rigger to take away a little bit of paint. So I having a dry brush, dragging it along and wiping it off and flicking the paint upwards. I wanted some lighter spots and on that side too. And just flicking some grasses from the damp paint that's already there outwards to the little road. And now I'm starting with the bigger trees, and the paint is mostly burnt umber with a little bit of Paynes Gray for that tree there. And just dragging it up, doing the stem. And on this next tree, I have added a little bit more of the Paynes Gray to make it a little bit darker than the previous tree. The tree that's the furthest from us should be lighter, and the closer the trees are getting to the viewer, the darker they get. I had a brush in the way. Now for the right side tree, and this tree is even darker because I wanted it that way to get some variety. It's not the closest tree, but it's a bit darker. We gotta have some artistic license to do things we want to. And here I'm fixing the bottom part of the trees so they look more incorporated with the ground. And adding a little bit of detail on the stem of the lighter tree, and changed to my rigger brush and doing branches. I have cut some parts of this out because my hand was in the way all the time doing the branches like that, and I didn't want you to have to watch my hand a lot, so I cut them out. But it's the same process doing branches with that rigger brush where you want them, and different thickness and length and so on. On this painting I decided to start with the branches like this and doing the greenery afterwards. And sometimes I do the greenery first and the branches after. It depends on the trees and what mood I'm in. But you can do either way. If you don't want the branches to be visible in the greenery, you should do the greenery first. And here I've changed to my big mop brush and doing strokes upwards and dabbing it in to get the texture and the motion of the tree. And as before, I'm starting with the lighter color to afterwards going in with darker color in the shadow parts and underneath to create that variety. And if you've watched this far and painting along with me, I thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy my content. And I would love it if you let me know if you want me to do something in another tutorial. If there's anything you would like me to paint or a technique you want to know about or anything that has to do with watercolor, please let me know. Here I've changed to my small rigger brush and doing a little bit of detail on the branches and adding more dark paint to the stems of the trees near the sun. And mostly on the part away from the sun, if you know what I mean. And I have a Facebook group for all of you who do the painting tutorials I have. So if you want to join, please make a request and I'll add you to the group. And it's because I want you to be able to talk to each other and I can help you even more in the group. And there's gonna be my drawings sometimes that you can download and use for your paintings. In this tutorial it wasn't so much to be drawn. And now I'm adding some burnt umber on a almost dry brush to get some texture and flicking it upwards. And then I'm softening it with a damp brush, as you can see here. And now I'm gonna take a paper towel and flick some splatters to the road only. It's hard to see, it's almost out of frame, but I'm just flicking on some of the same paint to get some gravel texture. And now we are almost done. I'm just adding a few trees in the background. And if you don't want to, you don't have to, but I thought it should be something more back there. It looked empty to me. And I hope I see you next time in my next tutorial, whatever that will be. And thank you so much for watching and have a really great painting experience.